A disturbing new report out highlights the culture clash refugees from the Middle East and the Western world are facing right now. The report, and I'm going to warn you, if you have kids in the room right now, they should leave because this is obscene. And I got to tell you, it is heartbreaking. I mean, when you think of what these Europeans are having to deal with right now, some of it I'm not even going to report because it's just unsuitable for air. But what I can tell you is that local authorities in Germany say a group of migrants went on a rampage in a German swimming bath in the small town of Bornheim, and it was all caught on tape. The men allegedly engaged in sexual acts, sexually assaulting swimmers, and they contaminated a children's swimming pool. This comes on the heels of local media reports about pools in other German towns. In Dresden, for example, 4 girls between the ages of 11 and 13 were allegedly sexually assaulted by a migrant man. And in Munich, 2 sisters, ages 14 and 17, were groped under their swimsuits and, according to reports, possibly raped by a gang of refugees. In Austria, staff at a public pool there, they are currently on high alert after a mother caught a refugee putting his hands inside her 3-year-old swimsuit. Now, I'm going to remind you, I'm not even reporting the full extent of these incidents, but you get the picture. In Europe, opening the door to refugees, it has become a massive national threat. And yet, a lot of people here, they want to welcome Syrian refugees with open arms. Should we? Retired Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, who lived in Germany for a number of years, he joins me now with reaction to these developing stories. Colonel, welcome.
And also great to take a break from shoveling snow for 3 days.
Oh, yeah, but you know, unfortunately, the content we're talking about is
Yes.
not something any of us want to be talking about, but this is the reality of the world we currently live in. I want to back up for a minute. A lot of public swimming pools in Germany. I mean, a lot of people might be scratching their heads and saying, what are these German bathhouses? To begin with, walk us through how important these are to the cultures of these small towns.
Yeah, they're the Schwimmbäder, the Badehallen, they're places, they're really social centers, and swimming is a big thing there. After work, people go to do it. There are classes, and it's all very civilized. Some of them even have, you know, nights when you have clothing optional, and although that's more rare than it used to be. But it's for them to suddenly have this influx of migrants, of men showing up, young males, always the males, showing up to, at best, ogle the German women and make smutty comments. At worst, grope them, assault them. It is a culture clash, as you observed. But beyond that, beyond being merely a culture clash, it's a manifestation of political correctness run amok. There and here, where the traditional model of immigration that worked was when the immigrant was forced to, absolutely had to conform to the values of the host country. Under political correctness
Learn the
for the last
language,
generation or 2, yeah.
You know, adopt the culture.
Exactly. And behave, and just behave. But now it's, you know, it's a mark of cultural authenticity to do this, that, or the other thing. Multiculturalism doesn't work, and what we're finding out now is that all our rhetoric about universal values don't work. These young Muslim, uneducated males from the Middle East flooding into Central and Northern Europe now don't share our values. They don't respect women. It's utterly misogynistic. And by the way, it's put the European left in a difficult position because on one hand, they want to be pro-migrant, touchy-feely. On the other hand, it's gotten touchy-feely in ways they didn't expect.
Look, no, I mean, they're dealing with a very serious reality of women that now feel very victimized. You know,
and in the homes.
What family would allow their child to go and swim in one of these pools now? What woman would want to go swim in one of these pools now? And you know, or why should some women, as we've gotten reports of, why should they be told to cover up? You know, let me share with you. You talk about this political correctness in Dresden at the swimming pool there. They tried to actually say, okay, no more migrants. We're not going to allow migrants to come and swim here. And then the Refugee Council got very upset and said, this is discriminatory. And so sure enough, they said, okay, well, we can't do this because they were worried about getting sued by the refugees. So now they're putting up signs all over the pool that basically have pictorial examples of how you should act, telling these men not to touch, grope, or in any way sexually assault these women and children.
Yeah, and even if the men suddenly behave, the women feel under threat. I mean, nobody likes to be ogled almost maniacally the way these men do it. But even beyond the newspapers in Europe and the media getting upset about the assaults on German women or a Swedish woman, a young Swedish refugee asylum helper, a volunteer,
was just killed
murdered
today.
Yeah. And so it's beyond that. What's coming out now, since New Year's Eve, the dam is broken on the information flood, and we're also learning that they've hushed up countless assaults and rapes within the refugee centers. And of course, the women from the Islamic world are hesitant to report it. Their lives are ruined. We're so politically correct and stupid that when they do come forward to report it, the German authorities will send a male Muslim interpreter for them. And of course, no Muslim woman from a traditional culture is going to talk. And so we've got to face reality. It doesn't mean that there are no genuine refugees. Trish, there are
what
real
is
refugees.
They're
Most
there
of these
now,
are
Colonel.
migrants.
What do you do now? They are there. You're telling me it's a culture clash, and the way they have been raised, they don't respect women. How is that supposed to change on a dime?
It's not. It's not going to change, and especially not going to change when you show toleration for the perpetrators rather than for the victims. But you've got this divide between the European cultural and political elites and the man in the street or woman in the street who has to put up with this. It's a divide even more pronounced than the one we see in our own country, and they've just had enough. I mean, Denmark, on per capita basis, they've taken the most refugees except for Sweden, second most refugees per capita. But they just today in their parliament passed a law saying, look, you come here as a migrant, any money you've got above about $1,450, we're going to confiscate it and use it to pay for your room and board because they can't absorb it anymore.
Right,
They're going
because
crazy.
it's just, we talk about the social toll, which is significant, and these poor women in Europe right now, but the economic toll on all the Europeans that are trying to deal with this, it is truly a mess. I think Angela Merkel is going to find herself in a very tough spot because the momentum, the backlash is significant. Colonel Peters, thank you so much.
Thank you.